What's up, fellas? Let me just go ahead and address it. Yes, I shaved my head last night. I got back from training and I was like, dude, I just kind of want to wake up and be able to get on with my day. I just want to come back and Dad, give me the Krillin. Give me the Krillin right now. Give me the Walter Hartwell White. Give me the '09 Randy Orton. I need the slap head. This is for ergonomics. So yeah, I went from starting this channel with dreadlocks down past my chin to now rocking the Nico Bellic, the Miami Hurricanes, bro. But hey, I think it fits me, bro. Let me know what you guys think. W haircut or whatever in the comments. But I'm just acknowledging it right now because I do have a couple of other uploads backlogged. And this video, I'm going to have the slap head, and the other videos, I'm going to have more hair in them. So, no, I did not find a wizard in the forest that gave me more hair follicles atop my head. I just got a haircut, and I made a video today, and I'm posting uploads from the other night that I've been editing all the way up until this point. In the next however long, I'm going to have a few uploads coming out before the Perth card where I have hair. So, exposition aside, we just got done watching Season 9, Week 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. Rest in peace to my boy Bryan Zurcher. Let's just get that out of the way first and foremost. My homie asked me if I was going to come to the combat gym tonight. He was like, yo, are you about to come to the MMA gym tomorrow? This was yesterday. And I was like, nah, dude, I'm going to stream the Dana White's Contender Series. We got a really high-level prospect from PFL, this Mexican dude named Bryan Zurcher who trains with Khabib. He's going to be fighting a Dagestani, so you know that's about to go up. The guy wasn't even from Dagestan, he was from Kyrgyzstan, so I was wrong about that. He's a stand fighter. My boy Bryan Zurcher got absolutely packed up in this fight, so moment of silence for you, dog. We're giving that guy a Viking funeral where we light the casket on fire and send his body out in the river on a boat. He deserves it. So a bit of housekeeping stuff before we get going. There's going to be two fights that I'm going to talk about that weren't on Dana White's Contender Series tonight. We got Charles Oliveira getting his main event in Brazil saved by Matteusz Gamrot. Matteusz Gamrot called out Charles Oliveira, and he wanted to make it seem like that boy Oliveira was ducking him. So he was like, yo, I called out the lion hasn't responded to me. This guy has the most, his exact Instagram post caption was, this guy has the most ground finishes and will not take a matchup with another grappler. And that's like, if Charles Oliveira let this one go and didn't give Matteusz Gamrot the opportunity to like make this fight and to save this date, then there would have been a little bit of ducking going on. I think that we could safely assume that Charles Oliveira just didn't want smoke with Matteusz Gamrot. And I know what people are thinking before I go any further into breaking down this matchup. How could he be ducking Charles Oliveira? The guy lost to Dan Hooker. The guy lost to Beneil Dariush. Charles Oliveira isn't safe from this Brazil curse, dude. And sometimes MMA math, we don't pay any credence to it here. And there is no rhyme or reason as to why these Brazilians have been losing. There's no rhyme or reason to why they've been winning on some occasions as well. Why the heck has Johnny Walker been the only fighter from Brazil to get a W in a main event? People are ruling out Alex Pereira. He might be next. These guys who you swear are completely done for, they might actually have a better shot than what we're thinking they have. And I would actually go as far as to wager that Alex Pereira does win next week. But, I mean, Charles Oliveira, I think this is another instance of a guy who's like, we're so sold on a certain outcome happening that it's not going to. I only favor Charles Oliveira to beat Fiziev because the grappling would have been right there for him. I think that on the ground, Charles Oliveira is a stronger fighter than Fiziev, and he wouldn't need to engage up in a stand-up war with Rafael Fiziev if he didn't want to, because he could just out-wrestle him, and then he could choke him. With Gamrot, a victory through playing the ground is going to be infinitely more dangerous and difficult for Charles Oliveira than it would be against Rafael Fiziev. Gamrot, if anything, can wrestle, and he can counter-wrestle really well. So it's just sketchy because for both, Gamrot and Charles each get hit a lot, but Charles does have more of a finishing capability. I don't think that Gamrot is going to get knocked out in this fight. Just because, I mean, the guy is very durable as well. These guys are kind of two sides of the same coin. So this is a better fight than what we would have got with the Fiziev matchup. Even though it's on short notice, I think this also favors Gamrot as well because this guy's always doing this type of thing. Charles Oliveira is the one who's getting kind of jerked around here with like the new opponent and then the other guy pulling out and then chatter about other fights happening, and he's calling out these scared contenders who don't want to be active and fight him. Gamrot's a gangster, dude. He's a thug, and I think this man has the recipe. I think he knows Victoria's Secret. I think he's the one he's cracked the Da Vinci Code. Matteusz Gamrot is the one who knocks. In this instance, I think that he's about to get this one done over Charles Oliveira. And what evidence do I have to go off of in order to make this assertion? Nothing. But they're just a part of me, right? And going off of intuition instead of actually looking through the fight styles is kind of risky. And I mean, who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not putting a goddamn single cent on this, but how many times have we seen Matteusz Gamrot just Grant Dawson masterclass people? And I'm not at all equating Armin to be the same level of grappler as Matteusz Gamrot in 2025, but I mean, they're not far from each other. And the Armin fight versus Charles Oliveira just got Grant Dawson masterclass. So for me to say that the same thing could happen again on this occasion, I don't think that it's that crazy of an idea. I think that it's very plausible. So that's what we're going with. Matteusz Gamrot 50-45 clean sweep, just absolutely grinding Charles Oliveira into a paste right onto the canvas before our eyes. Next fight, Jose Miguel Delgado versus Nathaniel Wood. So it's like, okay, I saw this matchup and I was like, so they just want to get rid of Nathaniel Wood. That's it. Because Nathaniel Wood, throughout his entire career, win or lose, this man is just, it's decisions on decisions. Muhammad Naimov last time, and before then, it was Casey Kenny. And don't look up what Casey Kenny is currently and doing some jail time for. I think that he still might be incarcerated for what he had done. I'm not a freaking Fed, so I'm not going to discuss this man's crimes on my channel, but like, nasty work. Anyways, Jose Miguel Delgado is a finisher through and through. They're giving him a fight with a guy who, I mean, he calls himself the prospect, but he's getting up there in age. Dude is like 32, 5 years a senior of my boy Jose Delgado. So, I mean, that's something to factor into this as well. I called Jose Delgado the real Gian Silva before. I had elected Hyder Emil as my favorite low-key prospect going into the week that they had both fought each other, Jose Miguel Delgado and Hyder Emil. And I was like, okay, so whoever wins this fight, that's who we're investing in. And now that we don't have Gian Silva around, I'm pretty high on Jose Miguel Delgado. I feel like it's kind of a hardcore thing to be right now, a Jose Miguel Delgado fan. It'll likely become trendy if he wins this fight via knockout, but I mean, dude, I'm going to be here before the rest of the yuppies who are like, yeah, I've been following him since the Conor Matthews knockout. Did you see his Contender Series performance? And they just found out about that performance through a reel that they saw like 3 hours before typing that comment. I was actually here at this train, man. Hyder Emil, that's a big win. And the fact that he got it so easily, so early into the fight, it's like, okay. I really am curious to see how far Miguel Delgado gets, and if it's possible for him to just get unanimous decision against a guy who is like Nathaniel Wood, a very well-rounded fighter who wins fights this way and doesn't brawl, kind of spars a little bit, makes fights grindy, but always ends up edging them out. Let's see if he can be a victim to this type of fight style. I hope not. I really hope that it's not this way. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Jose Miguel Delgado just because I like him. So those are going to be my predictions for these two fights. Let's talk about the Contender Series episode that happened tonight. Let's get right into it. So first on the docket, we have Rafael Tobias. This is going to be a light heavyweight from the Shootbox Academy. He fought against Jair de Oliveira. Jair de Oliveira is a manlet. This guy's like 5'9". 5'9" is being generous. That's still a 5-inch height disparity, but it looked like it was more pronounced than just 5 inches between the two of them. Jair de Oliveira looks short, man, like bajo. This guy has the same body dimensions as Henry Cejudo, and his durability was the only thing that was keeping him in this fight, because as soon as the first bell rang, Rafael Tobias was in there mixing him. Later on in the first round, though, since the fight did end via round 1 submission for Rafael Tobias, it kind of looked like Jair de Oliveira was finding his range and starting to land some good shots. He got pressed into the cage, and as Rafael Tobias had shot in for his takedown, which was this double leg, he ended up catching a pretty nasty uppercut on this entry from Jair de Oliveira. So I was like, hold on now, you guys. But as soon as I kind of prompted the chat to look at what was going on, because I sensed a tide shift for Jair de Oliveira in this fight, he was getting scooped off the cage and dumped. And this double leg was like so easy for my boy Rafael Tobias to complete. And from there, he got his hooks in, started punching the back of Jair de Oliveira's head. Jair de Oliveira completely forgot that submissions were a thing in MMA. Didn't fight the hooks, he just tried to stand up. So as soon as he posted with both of his hands on the ground, he had the RNC wrapped up. He was trying to pull the bottom arm instead of the top hand, like over his shoulder, and he verbally submitted to this rear naked choke that got locked up in the first round. Dude, we really had a perplexing ab build, man. Like, this was a confusing body to look at. And I'm not even really into body shaming, but like, man, look at, I don't know, dude. Welterweight, maybe? Like, we don't even see 5'9" welterweights anymore. This guy was at light heavyweight at 5'9". It didn't look right, man. Rafael Tobias got up and he bowed to Jair de Oliveira right after hitting a clip on him. And then they did that thing, you know, like how Brazilians, they'll be like kneeling and then they'll kneel in front of each other and they'll like put their foreheads together or whatever. They did that for a little bit, and then Rafael Tobias kissed Jair de Oliveira on the top of his head like he was his baby son. It was pretty ridiculous. Yeah, Tobias wins this via round 1 submission. He gets a contract. After this, we had a featherweight fight against Javier Reyes versus Justice Torres. Javier Reyes is like, he would be the coolest individual to ever breathe air to me as an 8-year-old. This guy's an MMA fighter. He has a background in parkour, and he's the lead guitarist in a rock band. And he's also a Zumba teacher too in Colombia. So like, you know, this guy be with the baddies, man. And he was repping for the 40-year-old baddies in this fight for sure. Justice Torres came out and like, I'm not sure if this man just has CTE already. I'm not sure if he was on Xanax in the cage, but it just seemed like he didn't know where he was. They said he was a slow starter, but by slow starter, they meant he just doesn't do anything in his fights. It was like that meme of like the guy poking the thing with the stick, whatever it is. They edit a photo over it, and it's like, come on, do something. It was literally Justice Torres in this fight. I don't know what he was in there doing. He was in there just taking damage off of Javier Reyes. And I was actually kind of scared that Javier Reyes was going to swing way too wide and just get perfectly countered by Justice Torres, because he was swinging really wide. A guy who keeps a tighter guard and is more responsible with his offense and knows how to counter these types of shots will knock out Javier Reyes. But Justice Torres just got winged. This was a heavy bag cosplay from Justice Torres. I was pretty unimpressed by the performance. Before Javier Reyes walked out, him and his coach hit like, you know those Fortnite emotes are like 500 V-Bucks, you buy them, and then you get close to a guy who's emoting, and you can press X, and you can hit the emote too? They hit one of those together. I can't even recreate it. I should have remembered what they did. It looked funny. Maybe the Western sense of shame that I've developed from growing up in America just prevents me from having fun. And him and his coach were just having fun and bonding through doing a goofy dance together, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I mean, I cringed, dude. I couldn't help it. And everyone in the chat was like, yo, this guy's cringe. Maybe we're the problem. Maybe it's not Javier Reyes. I mean, he's a guy with a UFC contract after scoring a round 1 KO. So, for whatever it's worth, keep dancing, my man. Keep dancing. Next, we had Sofia Montenegro versus Jeisla Chaves. So, this was a CTE classic between 2 women. And it's very rare that we get to see this type of fight happen in a female weight class. Sofia Montenegro, she's from Argentina. She trains in the same gym as Esteban Ribovic, or has some ties to him. And as soon as I saw that boy walk her out of the back rooms whenever she was making her ring entrance, I was like, okay, what's about to happen here? I kind of got excited because Esteban Ribovic is a CTE legend. And so Sofia Montenegro gets really active super early on, throwing some really clean combos at Jeisla. Jeisla is taking them, but barely. She almost got knocked out and finished in that first round. Within like a minute and a half, both of these women are bleeding because they're not being calculated with their entries at all, and they're butting heads and cutting each other with head clashes and the punches that they're both throwing. Jeisla Chaves has really nice boxing, and that really shined through as she wasn't getting finished and staying into this fight. These right hands and these really strong jabs that she was landing were what were keeping her alive throughout this entire match. Because Montenegro, she rolls over women who aren't as tough as Jeisla Chaves is. And, like, it would be easy to, like, first round KOs. Both of these women end up getting contracts from Dana White. They're going to wreak havoc on the women's flyweight division, no problem. Like, it's going to be easy for them to do as well. Montenegro is a really good inside fighter. Jeisla Chaves is more rangy and uses her boxing to stick and move on the outside. But she can set up some really big shots with her feints, and also just by landing jabs to set up her right hand. She's really good at controlling the distance. Sofia Montenegro kind of relies on crashing, and she will take damage in order to get hers off. But whenever she does connect, it's very strong. Her punches, finishing capabilities on both sides, it seemed not the best. Maybe down to a lack of punching power or just good chins for both fighters. I would like to credit the fact that this fight went to decision and there was no finish down to both of these ladies having good chins, because it's not like Jeisla Chaves wasn't in danger of being finished on like multiple occasions throughout the first and second round. Even in the third, Sofia Montenegro ended up on top and she withdrew the position. She stood back up. The ref created some space in between them. Jeisla Chaves worked some boxing. At the very end of the second round, after Jeisla Chaves nearly got finished after getting dropped, she ended up hitting Sofia Montenegro with a really big shot that made her chicken dance. We rarely see moments like this in WMMA. And it's kind of lit for the fact that, like, this is a reality now. Because even the last time that they had a women's fight on the Contender Series, that was 2 weeks ago. Cheyenne Dyer versus Carol Foro. That was a really good fight, dude. And I think that both of those women can be successful in the UFC. Both of these women rightfully got contracts. It was nasty, dude. It was a bloodbath. On average, the women's fights that we've seen from this Contender Series have been better than heavyweight fights that we get as openers or even early prelim fights on main cards. And that's like actual UFC events. Both of these ladies look like they got into a freaking raspberry eating contest and they had both of their hands tied behind their backs with bandanas. It was gross, but I was enjoying it, bro. I was rocking with it. It was cool. So here we go, man. This was I would much rather a fraud check in this instance happen to a guy on the Contender Series versus them signing him as like a one fight contract in the actual UFC and then being like, oh, well, this guy, he comes from this gym and he trains with this person and keep an eye out for him. And he just ends up getting shit canned immediately. Like, these things happen, dude. Sometimes you get a fighter with a really good placement. He comes from a really good stable and has the world in his palms, it seems like, and then he just doesn't perform. And that's exactly what happened. Sensory overload is definitely a real thing in the cage, and it seemed like Bryan Zurcher just didn't really know what to do with his hands. The fundamentals completely left him. He didn't jab. I think he tried to throw a combo that was super ugly. Like, he just couldn't get his mind and his body to get on the same page with him. It's probably just the pressure of the moment. No leg kicks, no wrestling. This guy comes from the Khabib camp, right? And no wrestling. No wrestling before he was dropped by a jab in the middle of the cage, pressured up against the fence by this guy, Murtazali Magomedov, and then knocked out with, like, both of these shots were so short. The jab was so short, and the left hook that knocked out Bryan Zurcher was so short. It looked like he was barely getting touched, and he just withered until there was nothing left of him. It seems like in this Contender Series season, Central Asian and Balkan prospects and also Brazilian prospects have been shining through. North America is so down bad for fighters that are prospects and contenders right now. It's not even funny. I know that we had the UFC Noche card just recently to stimulate that a little bit. And I think that there are guys like Alden Correa, Santiago Luna, and also even like Alexander Hernandez. Those are good prospects and they're from North America. But aside from that, dude, we're struggling bad. We're struggling. The last fight is going to be Đani Barbir versus Mantas. Oh, man. Kondratavičius. Oh, I forgot how they were saying it. Kondratavičius. That's how it looks there. But they're usually pronouncing it differently on the broadcast. Kondratavičius. This happened in middleweight. Đani Barbir, the Croatian guy. We make jokes, right, at the heavier weight classes. Maybe you have to be a heavyweight in order for being Croatian to be a good basis for MMA. Because this guy got absolutely sauced on by Mantas. And to be fair, my boy Mantas K looked like he was about to get wet up super early into this fight. Barbir comes out with a really hellacious combo. A winging right hand. It's parried and caught on the guard of Mantas. Mantas gets right back to the pressure. The reason why this combo landed so early for Barbir is because they both were pressuring heavily. But Mantas, he never withdrew with the pressure. And when everything started to get hairy on the feet, this was another round 1 KO. So Mantas, he closes the distance and starts grappling. And he gets the takedown. But there's a scramble that's produced from it. And through the scramble, they end up still being tied up. But Barbir gets back to his feet. So whenever they both stand, it's like Mantas has his arm over his head. It's like an overhook. but Barbir's kind of like flared out like this with the way that he had got a whizzer and then used it to stand back up. So as soon as they broke contact, Mantas had kind of been using that whizzer, the overhook that he had in it, as like a Tom Aspinall rangefinder, like how he puts his hand on people's shoulder. Landed the crispest 1-2 from this positioning, and it flash KO'd Barbir. Knocked him out. He hits the cage. 2 more shots of ground and pound land. The second punch wakes Barbir back up. The ref calls the fight. This man is like out on very shaky legs whenever he stands. Even though he's protesting the stoppage, it's good that he wasn't able to continue to fight. Yeah, Lithuanian MMA, dude. That guy's going to join Modestas Bukauskas to represent Lithuania in the UFC. But this guy is like a full-blooded Lithuanian. Lives in Lithuania. Speaks Lithuanian. I'm sure Modestas Bukauskas does as well, but he's like a British Lithuanian. So whenever he speaks, it's with like a posh accent. I mean, you always have those roots, and those guys are made out of some really tough stuff. But another one joins the fold. This guy's a middleweight. It's going to be cool to see what he does. Let's get to matchmaking these fighters now. And I love this part of the video. So, event recap plus matchmaking. 6 contracts were awarded across 5 different fights. This means that it was a good event. And it didn't run for very long because everyone was going to sleep and getting knocked out. I enjoyed myself watching it. This was also my first stream back since I retired and then came back. So, I had a blast. Thank everybody who joined. So yeah, for my boy Rafael Tobias, I'm not sure if I just keep on spamming the Tuco Tokos name drop for whenever a new light heavyweight guy gets a contract. But yeah, Tuco Tokos, man. I feel like he's such a good middle-of-the-road threshold test for a new light heavyweight prospect. Rafael Tobias is 22 years old. So this guy has a lot of upside. Unless you want to put him up against another young prospect, or if like Navajo Sterling loses, you give him a test in Rafael Tobias, which, I mean, you only have so many opportunities to build that guy up before he just completely blows it. He hasn't taken any losses, but he hasn't had any impressive wins, so that's another possibility. You could do like a Navajo Sterling with a guy like Rafael Tobias, but it would need to make sense. I feel like Tuco Tokos is an entry-level fight for any light heavyweight that you may believe in. Like, as a guy who matchmakes in the promotion, it always is going to be a good call. So that's who I would say he should fight. I don't know why I placed the women before Javier Reyes, but yeah, we'll go through that, sure. Sofia Montenegro, she should get a fight with Eduardo Mora. Eduardo Mora just got done riding Easy Street after a win over Lauren Murphy. You like beating up old ladies, huh? Well, yeah, come catch these hands from Sofia Montenegro. She throw them hard bitches. So let's see if she has something for that. The grappling was largely untested by Chaves because she didn't have any opportunities to grapple. Whatever she did have the opportunity to land a shot, she would just box. So, I mean, maybe she can't grapple defensively. Offensively, she looked pretty pressuring, and, like, that was working. So, I think that Eduardo Mora is a good call for this. Jeisla Chaves, I think that she has a lot more finishing capability than she was able to display because she just got a really tough fight. So, give her a finishable opponent, one that doesn't really have the highest IQ in a fight, and one who can be tied up on the ground as well. Diane Barbosa, I think this is a good fight for her. This is a girl who's going to stand with her and give her an opportunity to knock her out. And she's also going to make mistakes on the ground if it does go there. So, Jeisla Chaves, lots of upside for both of these girls. WMMA is kind of flourishing right now past other male divisions, namely heavyweight. Flyweight is honestly, male flyweight is on the come up too. So, of all the different divisions, I would say that women's flyweight is probably the most sprawling. I think it has like the most fighters in it out of all the different women's weight classes as well. So this could be cool. Nice little pickups that the UFC made. I'm pretty excited to see what they'll do next. Excited maybe a stretch, but I mean, if either of them get announced to serve as the opening fight for an Apex fight night, then I'm not going to be like shaking my fist at the sky. It'll just be what it is. Javier Reyes versus Fernando Padilla. Javier Reyes is a fighter who, I mean, I'm not sure if you give him like a huge shot. I think this is a guy that you could use to build a dude like Fernando Padilla. Fernando Padilla has a good win over Julian Erosa, a loss to Kyle Nelson, another more recent loss to Sean Woodson, but he's not bad. He's not horrible by any stretch of the imagination. And if Javier Reyes is really that cool, he can knock this guy out. He can win emphatically. Fernando Padilla also has the opportunity to land a counter off of one of these really messy blitzes that Javier Reyes likes to throw, and he can win emphatically as well. Not all of these guys can be put on title fast track, so you have to start them somewhere. I think that Fernando Padilla is probably a good entry point for Javier Reyes. after the performance that he put on. Let's see if any of those technical flaws in the striking can be exposed by a higher level guy than who he was given to face. That boy Murtazali Magomedov. I think that we do Jeisla. This is going to be a good grappling test for him. Jeisla is a grappler, but for some reason he came out and decided he was also going to throw them hard bitches up against Weston Wilson to get the fight going. And that was his last outing in Shanghai. He did a really good job there, so he deserves a reward, a higher profile opponent. This guy is a Magomedov. So I mean, like, this is high profile. Anytime that you get a fight with a guy named Magomedov and he's undefeated, I think this guy is 10-0 now. I think this is a good reward for Jeisla for doing so well. I like the way that Jeisla looked last time. He also has like a cool haircut every so often. I'm not sure if he came out rocking like the crisp fade in China, but I think he had like the leopard spots on a haircut just like my own. I'm actually trying to see what happens in this fight. I think this is a good match made. Jeisla is right at the precipice of being able to be taken seriously as a contender in this division. Prospect even. All you need is like a couple finishes and maybe one big knockout highlight in order to be starting to be considered as a prospect. It just depends on like the varying levels of competition. Weston Wilson isn't really the greatest win, but I mean, I remember it. That was the legendary Golden Freddy's KO. So let's see if he could recreate it against a guy who's a lot more high level. I doubt it, but I mean, who knows? It's MMA. The last fight that I would recommend be match made after this event is going to be Mantas Kondratavičius. That's what we're going to go with. We should match make him with Brad Tavares. The guy is young and explosive. Give him one of the old guard. And it sucks because Brad Tavares can beat Michael Bisping's record of the most middleweight wins or something like this if he does get a W in his next fight. He had the opportunity to do the same thing against Robert Burchak, but he fell short of that. I think that they should just keep on giving him these young fighters to test like their abilities against him with. Because I mean, Brad Tavares is looking very finishable. He has just good of enough of a chin and enough cardio to make it through to a decision whenever things start to get dicey. But I mean, there's an end to everything. I think that they should build up one of these young guys by allowing them to get a KO win over Brad Tavares. For whenever that cardio and that chin fails, it should be up against a young prospect who they can turn around and make money with. So I think that there's a lot of upside for Mantas. There's a lot of good fights for him at middleweight. I think that he wins a lot of these fights too. He looks to be in really good shape. Hopefully a lot of these guys are playing to turn around very soon because, I mean, that's kind of seems like the trend now this season of the Contender Series. You win your contract, and then within like 3 weeks afterwards, you have fight news announced. So hopefully it's just like that for most of these fighters, especially the ones from tonight, because we did get a lot of good talent. I was very happy with what I saw. So yeah, that's going to be the commentary that I have to provide for this event. Tune in next week. Tune in this Saturday. I'm going to be live for the recap of the Perth card. This may actually be better than the Perth main event, what we just watched, these 5 fights. So please do like, comment, and subscribe if you made it to this point in the video. I will see you fellas